not united like they keep lying and pretending to be. Half of the players are ready to sign the deal that the WNBA laid on the table. Meanwhile, the WNBPA is going and sending out proposals that the players don't even give a damn about because they are willing to sign what is already on the table.
Listen up, folks. The ultra-wealthy tycoons running the Women's National Basketball Association have finally decided to detonate the ultimate doomsday device. Over the past 3 months, we have witnessed a faction of self-important, reality-detached veterans in the Players Association try to put a gun to the head of the 2026 season. We saw the strike threats loom. We heard their outrageous demands for 30% of the entire financial pie. They paraded around believing they were the structural load-bearing walls of the sport, convincing themselves that the ownership groups would inevitably collapse, crawling back on hands and knees because the game simply couldn't go on without them. However, the bosses didn't blink. They didn't plead. Instead, they stared right back at the union brass. They glanced at their financial ledgers, checked the astronomical viewership numbers brought in by Caitlin Clark, and let a grin spread across their faces. A chilling, calculated, boardroom smirk. Now, the word on the street is terrifying enough to freeze the blood of every tenured player who believed they were immune to consequences. You don't like the contract? Don't ink it. Sit on your couch. We are launching this ship whether you're on board or not. You have to grasp the sheer weight of the weapon the ownership is wielding here. This is the final, scorched earth maneuver. Management analyzed the bargaining sessions and concluded that the union's old regime has no interest in rational compromise. Breaking news from Front Office Sports indicates that following months of dragging their feet and weeks of radio silence, the labor side finally offered a pathetic excuse for a compromise regarding the mid-level and rookie-scale athletes. It is their job to protect every single member, not just the superstars cashing max checks or the fresh faces, but the entire roster. Is this a joke? Demanding a 26% slice of the revenue pie? They shifted from 27.5% to 26% and expected a standing ovation. That isn't bargaining. That is a slap in the face to the intellect of every person in that boardroom. Management is putting 15% on the table, a historic, multi-million-dollar raise for a business that has bled cash annually since 1997. The union countered by trimming a solitary percentage point. It's absolute corporate satire. Nneka Ogwumike, Brianna Stewart, and the executive committee are handling this like a teenager's civics project rather than a billion-dollar industry realignment. Since the players' reps refuse to live in the real world, ownership is gearing up to move forward solo. The rumors are turning into shouts. Emergency protocols are being drafted, and the atomic choice is in play. Replacement squads. We've seen this movie before in pro athletics. Crack open the history books to the NFL walkout of 1987. The athletes held the line, arrogant enough to think the shield would crumble. Instead, the league recruited semi-pros and college rejects. They signed the picket crossers and threw them on the gridiron. The whistle blew, the cameras rolled, and the resistance collapsed in 3 weeks when the starters saw their bank accounts draining while strangers wore their uniforms. The WNBA brass is studying that exact strategy guide at this very moment, only they possess a colossal ace in the hole that the 87 NFL lords lacked. They control the biggest viewership magnet the game has ever seen, locked into a rookie deal. They have Caitlin Clark. Now, March 10th is effectively the point of no return. It will drag out until March 31st to clear the legal hurdles and dry the ink. Pay close attention, because this is the harsh reality. The bitter pill the veterans choke on is that 90% of the current roster can be swapped out without missing a beat. The average American spectator, those millions of eyeballs that arrived last season, hold zero sentimental loyalty to the benchwarmers of the past decade. It matters not to them if Natasha Cloud is playing, or if Kelsey Plum is staging a protest from her living room. They wouldn't bat an eye if the entire union leadership team retired to the Bahamas permanently. The crowds are there to watch number 22 launch deep bombs. They are tuning in for the Caitlin Clark spectacle. If ownership locks the gym doors on the veterans and stocks the Indiana Fever with hungry, undrafted talent, international imports, and college seniors desperate for a professional check, throw a bunch of randoms on the court alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and take a guess at what the viewership numbers will look like. The stadiums will still be packed to the rafters. The jerseys and gear will still vanish from the stockrooms at lightning speed. The team owners understand perfectly well that the Clark phenomenon does not rely on the legacy roster showing up. Actually, the truth is, the majority of the fan base would likely choose to watch Caitlyn run the floor with a fresh squad of rookies who appreciate her, rather than a collection of jealous old-timers who spend the whole game trying to body-check her into the stands. The level of conceit coming from the Players Association thinking they are the main attraction is absolutely mind-blowing. They honestly convinced themselves that the $2.2 billion broadcast contract happened because the whole league leveled up together. That is a complete fantasy. The network executives didn't cut a 10-figure check for slow and steady organic progress. They signed it because a single phenomenon from Iowa smashed every viewership ceiling in collegiate history and dragged her entire audience with her to the big leagues. Caitlyn Clark isn't just a player. She is the entire economy. She is the product. Yet the union is busy trying to hijack her success to secure a massive payday for themselves, all while holding a gun to the head of her second season. But the representatives are snapping out of it. The sports agents managing these careers are staring at that March 10th deadline. They see the ownership's threat to field replacement squads, and they are hitting the panic button. We discussed this scenario earlier. The agents fired off a letter demanding transparency on the proposals because they can see the union steering the bus straight off a cliff. These managers realize that if the franchise owners actually pull the lever and recruit scab players, the professional lives of their clients are effectively finished. Because the moment a team sees they can get identical output from a hungry rookie for $70,000, instead of paying $200,000 to a fading star, that veteran is history. And that leads us to the supreme irony of this entire labor war. The senior players shouting the loudest, demanding the biggest checks, and pushing hardest for a walkout are the exact people with the most to lose. They are playing a game of financial chicken against a superstar who is completely immune to the crash. Listening to the news drops, hey, this player is shaking hands with this squad. That player is locking in with that squad. Another player is settling with this franchise. All those contracts turn real on the 12th when the market opens, but do you spot the massive crack in the union's armor? They are waving a strike threat, assuming it puts the squeeze on the league's golden goose. But Caitlyn Clark doesn't need a WNBA paycheck. Her base salary is $76,000. She earns more cash just blinking her eyes in a State Farm commercial than she grinds out during a full season of professional hoops. She is sitting on a $28 million signature sneaker deal with Nike, plus Gatorade, plus Panini, plus Wilson. If the league cancels the season, Caitlyn Clark won't miss a single second of sleep. She will simply embark on a global promotional tour. She will hit the celebrity golf circuit. She will sit front and center at Milan Fashion Week, which is exactly where she is right now. Caitlyn Clark is economically indestructible. However, the veterans organizing this strike, the players who depend on that league's salary to cover their mortgages, fund their lifestyles, and put food on the table if the season gets scrapped, they go bust. If the owners bring in replacements, their platform vanishes. They will be driven to grind in miserable foreign leagues just to pay the bills. Meanwhile, the replacement players inherit their roster spots, their locker rooms, and their broadcast minutes. The franchise owners have finally quit playing defense. They are on the attack. They have slammed the March 10th deadline on the table and backed it with the nuclear option. We don't need you. They realized the union is fractured. The agents are terrified, and the spectators really only care about the new generation anyway. The bosses are effectively daring the veterans to walk. They are saying, go ahead, leave. We have Caitlyn Clark. We have a $1 billion TV agreement. And we have 1,000 college kids willing to cross that picket line tomorrow morning. The Players Association has been stripped bare. Their bluff has been called in the most embarrassing way possible. They imagined they could leverage the Caitlyn Clark wave to squeeze the Tycoons. Instead, the Tycoons are using the Caitlyn Clark wave to render the entire veteran class obsolete. The timer is ticking toward March 10th. The owners hold the pen, and the veterans face a choice. Sign the paper, swallow your pride, and accept that this is Caitlyn's league now, or walk out the door and watch the WNBA leave you behind forever. Judgment Day is here,